Hello, today we're going to be learning about Dovetail Mate. So last week we looked at back rank mate, and here's the puzzle, white to play, and white could back rank mate right now. So if you haven't already, you can pause the video and try and figure it out. So the answer is rook to d8, checkmate. This is back rank mate because the king is in check thanks to the d8 rook. The king can't move to f7 or g7 because both of the squares are occupied by a black pawn. The king can't move to h7 because if the king moved to h7, then he would be under attack by the bishop on e4, meaning that that square is controlled by the e4 bishop. The king can't move to f8 or h8 because those squares are both controlled by the rook on d8, and there's nothing to capture the rook or block the check, so this is officially checkmate. So, dovetail mate is a type of checkmate that requires a queen and a piece to defend that queen. It also requires two of the squares on the sides of the opposing squares to be either occupied by opposing pieces, controlled by your pieces, or a combination. The two squares on the sides of the king have to be directly diagonal to each other. The two squares on the sides of the king can be on any sides as long as the two squares are diagonal to each other. This definition can be very confusing, so it is a good idea to see the example and then come back to this definition to understand the definition better. So, dovetail mate can be on any side. This is an example of a dovetail mate because if you see here, the king can't move to h8, h7, g6, or f6 because all of the, or even f8 because all of those squares are controlled by the h6 queen. The king can't capture the h6 queen because it's defended by the e3 bishop, and the king can't move to g8 or f7 because they're both occupied by pieces of the black side. Now, here's another example, and this time there's two different squares. So the king is in check thanks to the f6 queen, and the king can't move to h8, f8, f7, g6, or h6 because all of those squares are controlled by the f6 queen. The king can't move to g8 or h7 because those squares are occupied by black pieces, and the king can't capture the queen because the knight on g4 defends it. So this is another example of dovetail mate. A third example is like this. The queen is defended by the rook, and the queen controls f8, g8, h7, h6, and f6. So the king can't move to any of those squares. The king can't capture the queen because it's defended by the h2 rook. And the king can't move to f7 because the bishop on e8 controls that square. And the king can't move to g6 because a black pawn, is occupying that square. So, let's see our final example, which looks like this. The king is in check thanks to the f8 queen. There is no way for the king to move to h6, h8, g8, f7, or f6 because all those squares are controlled by the queen. The king can't move to h7 because it's controlled by the rook. The king can't move to g6 because it's occupied by the black pawn on g6, and the king can't capture the queen because the bishop on e7 defends it. So those are four examples of dovetail mate. And here's the first puzzle, a bit more complicated, where you have to figure out how to dovetail mate. As usual, you have 30 seconds, and definitely as usual, you can pause the video if you need more time. So your time starts now. Time is up. The correct move was queen to a4 checkmate. The king can't move to c2, a2, a3, b4, or c4 because all those squares are controlled by the a4 queen. The king also can't move to c3 or b2 because the bishop on f6 is controlling both those squares. As well as that, the king can capture the queen because the a8 rook defends it, and there's nothing to capture that queen. So, this is checkmate. Your turn. So, it's white to play, and white can do a dovetail mate. The answer will be in next week's video. And thanks for watching this far into the video. And I hope you enjoyed. If you have any feedback, you can post it in the comments or in the forum in the description of all the videos. The forum is completely anonymous, so I won't know who filled it out. Please hit that like button to subscribe for more videos like this one because it takes a lot of time and effort to make these videos. You can visit the chess playlist to see all the chess videos. I'm sorry this video was so late, but thanks for watching and goodbye.